Welcome to Tea and Tarot with me, your host, Yashna. Each week I'll share what I've learned as I dive deeper into the world of tarot. I've got my cards in front of me, my cup of tea, and I can't wait to share this journey with you. This is Tea and Tarot.
Hello and welcome back to Tea and Tarot with me, Yashna. This week we are going to continue to talk about the major arcana. We're going to be jumping into justice, and to aid me in that, I have a cup of mint tea with me that I will be sipping on throughout this episode. Okay, so jumping into the justice. The imagery of a justice comes from the image of the Greek goddess Astrea, or Roman goddess Justitia, daughter of Themis. The goddesses were typically depicted holding the scales of justice and pointing a sword downward, but didn't usually have any blindfolds on, the way justice is kind of depicted in more modern day. Astrea was the goddess of justice, innocence, purity, and truth. She was also known as the Star Maiden. She is closely linked to the goddess Psyche, who is another goddess of justice, and Nemesis, who is the goddess of revenge. From Greek mythology, she was the last immortal to live on Earth during the Golden Age and fled to the heavens during the Bronze Age and became the constellation Virgo. Legend has it that she will return from the sky to usher in another Golden Age. During the Renaissance, she was seen as a symbol of cultural renewal because of that belief. The Visconti Sforza cards showed the figure Justice as Maria Bianca Visconti with her scales and upright sword. In the card, there's also a knight in black armor on a white charger jumping over the throne. That could be an indicator of the results of her ruling and hint to the death card that comes up pretty soon in the deck. In the classic tarot, Justice is shown with wings, echoing the image of Maat, the Egyptian goddess of cosmic wisdom, and one of the earliest winged figures we have evidence of in art. Maat's influence is also suggested in Judgment, which makes sense since she weighed the souls of the dead. Maat was the daughter of the sun god Ra and the wife of the moon god Thoth, who was also the god of wisdom. She regulated the seasons, stars, and the actions of mortals and deities. She was believed to judge the dead by weighing their hearts against hers. Egyptians worshipped Maat by living life according to her principles of justice, order, and harmony, and the king was expected to ensure that Maat was maintained in the world. Maat was also just a general term that was used to describe order. So, definitely a huge embodiment of justice. Looking at the decks that I have, first digging into the Rider-Waite deck, which I have here with me. The stone pillars are for boundaries and permanence. Justice's rulings are given with the boundaries of the law, within the boundaries of the law. The sword is pointed upward and shows the action that results from judgment. The scales that he holds in his other hand represent the thought process involved in making any judgment, in that both sides of the story must be weighed, and the weight in the center of the scales represents a ring through a sword, an ancient Celtic symbol of justice. Justice's crown is a natural crown. It's crenulated like castle walls, suggesting that justice is part of civilized society. The square jewel in the center represents order. The veil is a boundary between the judge's court and the everyday world. Once a ruling has been given, the veil drops and words become action. The yellow background is for consciousness, clear sight, and support. So moving on to the Light Seers deck and the Light Seers depiction. Before I jump into it, I do have to say that when I first got this deck and I first looked at this card, she really reminded me of Mulan, especially with the sword and kind of a reflection looking back at her. but let's get into it. I'm going to read the Justice story from the Tarot for Light Seers guidebook. Justice holds her sword out skillfully, and she tunes into the question asked of her. She feels the changing winds pick up and pass through her hands, and she waits for the feeling of balance to arrive as she whispers her values. Morality, intention, truth, integrity. While her sword can be used for slicing through the darkness in order to seek truth, she prefers to use it more gently, picking up on the thoughts and intentions of the seeker. In this way, she can balance and weigh their outcomes objectively. Justice believes that actions provoke reactions, in things being either right or wrong, and understands truth as well as deception. She believes in the universal moral code that she upholds, and easily sees the error in other people's thinking. In shadow, she witnesses the way our emotional state can easily cloud our judgment, the connection to ego, the lies. She watches how quickly we tend to see things from our very limited perspectives, often condemning others before having all the facts. She knows that fear will usually cause us to act in ways we're not proud of, and that the only elevating path lies rooted in deeper truths. She understands, yet holds us accountable regardless, and with a steady hand, she asks us to look at our responsibilities, our choices, and our excuses with love. In the card, she's holding the scales of justice, just like in the Rider-Waite deck. It is representative of balance and fairness, weighing actions with integrity and consequences. They're made with mini cauldrons or planters, because our actions and intentions have consequences on the magic we can wield and the growth we can experience. Her sword cuts through the deceit and uncertainty, bringing truth and clarity. The black and white dots around the card are for duality, light and shadow. And her reflection is kind of a show of self-reflection and examination, honesty, shadow work, motivations, and really a reminder that our karma, mindset, and our choices are mirrored back to us through life. It also kind of shows the duality of like this lighter meaning and the darker meaning that comes with this card, because karma goes both ways. It's not all good. There is good and bad. The general message from the Light Seers deck is true equilibrium between actions and consequences is only found through honest self-reflection. The optimistic Light Seers message is, my good karma is delightfully loving and can be the most motivating of teachers. The message from the Rider-Waite deck is, with the right values, reward comes. Jumping into the meaning, when this is pulled and is in the Light Seer position, it is about natural law, balance, karma, truth, wisdom, legal matters. It's about fairness, cause and effect, integrity, objectivity, perspective, and accountability. In the reverse, Shadow Seer, it is about consequences, retribution, karma, again, injustice and inequity, dishonesty, imbalance, a need to take responsibility for your actions, past experiences. You might be facing regret or have some difficulty in legal matters. When this card is pulled, it's all about taking time to reflect on your past and where you are now, the good, the bad, and everything in between. It's a chance to be honest with yourself and find clarity in your current situation. If you've been dishonest, don't try to cover it up. Accept what you did and be truthful in order to make up for it and move forward. Karma is real, so try to lead with honesty and fairness in all your actions. When this card is pulled for love and relationship readings, it's an indicator to ensure you're treating your relationships and others with kindness and respect. Karma comes through in relationships. If you're kind to others, they'll be kind to you as well. It's an indicator of harmony and connectedness, so it's usually a good sign for a relationship reading. In the reverse, it could mean someone's being dishonest or cheating. The truth will be revealed, and whoever was dishonest will deal with that karma. For money and careers, it is assigned to make sure you're balancing your work and personal life. Career is important, but don't let that overtake everything. Justice is all about balance and ensuring that one aspect of your life is not outweighing the other. It's also an indicator to be logical and rational with your decisions. Don't be too hasty and make sure you're looking at all evidence in front of you while making decisions. For health, it could be an indicator that you feel out of balance and need to focus on ensuring you're not overindulging in one area and seeking general balance for your health. And then lastly, around spirituality for those readings, the biggest message is really just karma is real. Act kindly to receive kindness. No misdeeds will come back around to bite you. And just take a moment to listen to the lessons that the world is trying to send your way. Open your heart and open your mind and understand that everything balances out in the world around you. So that's kind of the breakdown on the card. To wrap this up, I thought the best way to end this episode, or at least the content portion of this episode, is to share some random tidbits and trivia about judges in history, with a lot of these being about the Supreme Court. In the 12th century, which is kind of some of the earliest documentation and dating of judges in general, they were court officials who advised the king in disputes with other nations and with people, such as other nobles or the commoners. The justices in Eyre had judicial and administrative powers to execute on the judgments made. Judges gradually gained independence from the monarch and government over time, becoming their own entity to operate in the best interest of the people. The Supreme Court of the United States was founded in 1789. At its foundation, the Supreme Court was made of one Chief Justice and 5 associate judges. When it started, the court was kind of more under the radar. They operated out of the Capitol building's basement, and they didn't have an established home until 1935, bouncing between different courts and the old Senate chamber until the Supreme Court building was built. In 1942, Annette Abbott Adams became the first female justice in California. Before her, Georgia Bullock was the first female judge. In 1924, also in California, Sandra Day O'Connor was the first woman to serve on the Supreme Court, serving from 1981 to 2006. So, in case you're keeping track of the numbers, that's 1789 from foundation to 1981 for the first female Supreme Court justice. Interesting. On the Supreme Court, the average term is 16 years, and a new justice joins the Supreme Court approximately every 2 years. The longest term was 34 years and held by John Marshall from 1801 to 1835. He is also featured on the $500 bill, though it is no longer in circulation, so you wouldn't see it. One of the most historic members of the Supreme Court was Ruth Bader Ginsburg, or at least historic to me. All of them have a lot of their own history and a lot of things that they have accomplished and done, but RBG was a very iconic figure, especially because she spent a majority of her career advocating for gender equality and women's rights. She served on the court from 1993 to 2020 and helped overturn years of precedent to help pave the way for the next generation. And may she rest in peace. The movie based on her, on the Basis of Sex, is a fantastic movie. I definitely recommend watching it if you have not. It makes you appreciate her work and what she did and everything she had to struggle and deal with to overcome as much as she did and help make as much change as she did. Sorry, that's a bit rambling, but anyways, that's my content. That's what I've got today. Yeah. Stay tuned. I will be right back, and then I'm going to be doing the Justice and Balance reading from the Tarot for Light Seers guidebook, so stay tuned. Welcome back. I am going to do the Justice spread from the Tarot for Light Seers guidebook. It is called Justice and Balance, and it is a spread for cultivating clear judgment and aligned action. So I will be drawing 3 cards for this, for balanced heart, balanced action, and balanced mind. Oh, swap balanced mind and balanced action. Action is number 3. And yeah, so for this one, I am going to shuffle the deck. I actually think for this one, what I'm going to do is, okay, I just did a normal shuffle, but I'm also going to just do one of the chaotic shuffles that I've talked about in the past, because I did a couple readings earlier with this deck, and I want to kind of reset its energy, if you will. Make sure I've touched all these different cards, that all of them are getting some love from me. This is truly the most chaotic thing ever. I love it. Okay, so the last spread I did was the Wheel of Fortune spread, and that one was kind of not necessarily with a specific prompt in mind, and I feel like this one is kind of similar reading it, because it's about how you can cultivate better balance for yourself, how you can be your best version of yourself. So I think this is very much similar, where it's kind of like a general spread, but you don't necessarily need a prompt in mind. So I'm going to get all these cards near me, and I'm just going to pick 3 random ones that have now appeared near the top and call to me. So 1, balanced heart, 2, balanced mind, and then 3, balanced action. Okay, put the cards away. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. I'm going to start flipping them over. So the first card is for balanced heart. It is, in what areas of my life can I cultivate better emotional balance? Where can I foster more harmony and light? This one, I have pulled the Page of Swords in the reverse position. The Page of Swords is a card that's all about curiosity and innovation, making sure that you're kind of feeding your mind and you're continuing to do what piques your interest. I'm going to need to look at what that reverse position means, but let's flip the rest first. The second card is Balanced Mind. In what areas of my life can I work on cultivating clearer judgment? This one is the 10 of Cups in reverse. Oh, that's so funny. I feel like these should be reversed, because the 10 of Cups is really about community and family. It's really a big family card. And then the third one, Balanced Action, is what actions are for my highest good and the highest good of all. For this one, it is the Star in the forward position. And the Star is all about wishes, optimism. Yeah, okay. I'm going to take a quick look at what these cards really mean and how they play into this. Okay, so having reviewed the cards and thinking about what these all really mean, I think the Page of Swords and the 10 of Cups could be flipped in terms of which part of the spread they refer to and what they really allude to, but I'll read it as is and kind of how it would be if it was flipped. So the Page of Swords in reverse is kind of about white lies. It can be about gossip, about not necessarily like addressing your thirst for knowledge and your curiosity. So you kind of feel stuck and stagnant and like things aren't being honest. So in terms of what to cultivate for better emotional balance, I think it does allude to just being honest and making sure that I'm doing what feels good for myself and I am staying true to what I need and not feeding into too much of what's going on around me and what's happening with others. For the 10 of Cups in reverse, the 10 of Cups is a big family card, like I was saying, and in reverse, it can mean you have this fear that you aren't worthy of love, that you feel that you aren't quite getting your wishes fulfilled, you aren't getting what you need from others around you. So given this is about cultivating clear judgment, I think it's a sign to be more honest with yourself and to not necessarily feel or fear the community around you, or feel like you don't belong in it, or that it has been rejecting you, and to just be a little more honest with yourself and a little more reasonable with your expectations. It could mean that you think some of your hopes are out of reach and your expectations and dreams aren't tangible. But especially around the question of how to have clear judgment and clear mind around it, I think this is a sign of don't think that way, or at least be a little more critical of those negative thoughts in your mind when they come up. And then the last one, the star, is what actions are for my highest good and the highest good of all. The star is all about renewed hope. It's about dreams. It's about what you desire, and this clear path in front of you that is filled with so much hope and so much light. And the way I kind of read that is how it translates to actions and judgment is, I think especially around like maybe being stuck in a bit of a loop, or being stuck in some of like what's going on around you and being in your head about how others feel about you. The star is really renewed hope. Like your future is so bright. There's so much ahead of you. So maybe it's saying for me, the thing that would bring me the highest good and help inspire the highest good for those around me is to maintain optimism, to maintain hope. And I'll be honest, that's a hard thing for me. I like to call myself a realist, and I think that can clash with optimism sometimes, especially when things kind of seem a little down or a little bummer energy around you. But yeah, maybe that's my takeaway from it is, if I switch the Page of Swords and the Ten of Cups, it kind of makes sense to me too, of the Ten of Cups, of like, how can you balance your mind balance your emotions and your heart. And that one is more about tugging at your heartstrings and how you feel loved and how you feel deserving of love. Whereas the Page of Swords is about feeding your curiosity or lack thereof. So for clear judgment, you need to fuel what you're trying to learn and fill in these gaps in your knowledge. And I think those kind of correlate better, but they also kind of make sense in the positions they are now. So just as I read them just now. So I think it's very interesting. Sometimes doing readings for yourself is a little tricky because you pull these cards and you read them for yourself, and there could be this other layer or this other meaning to it, but you don't quite know how it clicks together because you're really only seeing it from this one side. And it's always funny because sometimes I do these readings and later on I reflect back on it and I'm like, oh my gosh, this makes sense to me now. I know what the cards were trying to tell me, but right now this is my interpretation of them, and it was not a bad spread. So that's everything I've got. This was the breakdown of Justice. Tune in next week to break down, what am I breaking down? What's next in the book? Let's see. Oh, join me next week to break down the Hanged Man and continue on this wonderful journey of the Major Arcana. We are halfway through. That's crazy. Tune in next week. Thank you for listening to Tea and Tarot with Yashna. This episode was produced, hosted, and edited by me, Yashna Bensel, and brought to you by Tea Time Podcasts. The tarot reading was done using the Light Seers deck by Chris Ann, and all card visuals were from the Light Seers deck and the Rider Waite Smith Tarot deck. Research was done using Wikipedia, The Ultimate Guide to Tarot by Liz Dean, Tarot for Light Seers by Chris Ann, and many, many Google searches. Music was made using SoundRaw. Join me next week for another episode of Tea and Tarot.